It is time for a shot of vitamin T. It's Teresa Tomeo. Teresa, we've got a lot to talk about in our short segment today. You've been very involved in something that is front page everywhere right now. The meeting between Pope Leo and the new Archbishop of the Anglican Church for Canterbury, and being reported about in various ways. But wanted to get right to the heart of the matter, and I know you're being quoted in various secular media, and wanted to get your take on this meeting. These meetings.
Well, good morning. Good morning from central Italy, of course, back in Umbria. Deacon Dom and I arriving last Thursday, I think it was. It's already, Tuesday, so it's gone by quickly. Yeah, over the weekend, I received a request to interview with the New York Times, of all things, believe it or not, regarding the issue of male priesthood. And of course, because of the meeting, as you mentioned, Dave, with the Cardinal Molla, the first female Archbishop of the Anglican Church. And the topic was, what frustrated me and the reason I wanted to be in the article was, if you read the article itself, which we have a link to it on my Facebook page, it is behind a paywall, but many people do subscribe, and you can subscribe for free and then cancel it if you want to. So the reason I wanted to be interviewed and at least be quoted is to have at least a little bit of truth in the article, because I knew, being that it was the New York Times, and I knew where they stand on this issue, that they weren't exactly going to be the most balanced, in the reporting. However, I will say the reporter was very nice, and she did quote me accurately. She didn't give space to everything I said, because I gave her like 2 paragraphs on church teaching. I mentioned both documents by Paul VI, St. John Paul II, statements by Francis, statement by Leo. And she did use a quote about women and how we are all equal in dignity, but that equality doesn't mean sameness, and about Jesus and the apostles and whatnot. But it is a risky thing, because the New York Times is not exactly known for balance any longer, Unfortunately. The Great Lady has gone way down in that area. But I prayed about it, and I thought, if we can just get a little bit of truth in that article, maybe it'll get someone to think. Because there is no chance for women priests. It's just not going to happen. In the article, the way they wrote it was like, oh, this is still a debate within the church. No, it's not. And they assumed that the reason that the Pope was meeting with the Cardinal, in their own minds, I think they think, some of the media, if they say it enough, it'll happen. Yeah. But no, I mean, he had a meeting. He meets with all kinds of people. I mean, he's not only the vicar of Christ, but he's the head of Vatican City State. So he's going to meet religious leaders. He's going to meet with leaders of country. He's going to meet with, actors and actresses and musicians. That's what he does. And of course, you want to have ecumenism, but there are still disagreements. So I felt, normally I don't think I would put myself in the situation of doing an interview with the New York Times, but I said, I think this is important. So I didn't. It turned out fine. I mean, I wasn't crazy about the article. Again, it took the angle that this is still a possibility, but at least a little bit of truth came through.
Yeah, and I think that's one of our issues, isn't it? That I noticed this last week when Pope Leo said something about sexual morality, and I knew right away how that would play in the minds of the media and in the minds of people who are not kind of entrenched in Catholic doctrine, that understand it.
Right.
And that's always my frustration. It's like, as soon as I hear this, I'm thinking, oh no, I know what they're going to do with this, and so it's so important to have people out there. But again, like you said, it's hard to know that even what you say and what you give will be used and not twisted in some way.
Well, that's why whenever I do these interviews, Pat, that's a great point. I insist on answering only via email, because then I have a copy of everything. And then I can copy my own boss and my own management team and say, this is what I said, in case this gets misconstrued or misquoted. So I have the actual print version of what I said. I can print it out. So it's always important, especially if you're not experienced, and I don't recommend anyone who doesn't have any experience with the media to go so far as to sit down with the New York Times. You just can't do it. You have to know, how they're asking the questions, what they're inferring in the questions. And I know that because I've been doing this a very long time. But she was very pleasant, and she asked me, how would you like me to identify you, which I appreciated, because who knows what they're going to call you or how they're going to refer to you. So she treated me fairly. She was accurate with my quotes. The story itself, though, was inaccurate, because we are never going to have women priests. That is a definitive teaching the priesthood is for men. So again, they try to make it a debate and thinking that the Holy Father will see the article, maybe in the New York Times, and say, eureka, there we go. I have to change this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they automatically assume when the Pope meets with people that it's a negotiation session, and it isn't.
Right. Or it's about what they want accomplished in the church. Oh, he's meeting because they still have to do this, and this is going to happen here. No, it's not. But we do our best to get the word out there.
Right, and always good to continue the conversation, and honestly, not horrible that people are talking about it, right? I mean, the conversation brings a group of listeners in, and then clarity continues to be given, but not horrible that you've got people listening in that might not be listening otherwise.
Right, and I think it's really important to be able to, like, if someone reaches out to me, if they see my name in that article, maybe I'll get another interview, or maybe someone will write to me asking me questions. That gives us another, or maybe it'll be any one of us, right, who's somebody who picked up that article, and then we'll ask you as a Catholic, someone listening in our audience this morning, and then that gives us an opportunity to teach. So that's the other point that I always think about as a Catholic communicator and evangelist, is if I can get this in an area where the people who are reading it 9 times out of 10 aren't going to be getting the truth about the Catholic faith because there's an agenda. So if I can shine a little bit of light on the truth and it can spark a conversation, then I'll just leave the rest up to God,
Yeah, and if anybody has any curiosity and they will read any further, there isn't going to be any doubt about what the church's teaching is and what who her heroes are. Today is one of them, Saint Gianna, and you and Deacon Dom have a real close connection to she and her family.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we've spent a lot of time with Saint Gianna Beretta Molla's daughter, Dr. Gianna Emanuela, who's a great pro-life warrior. She speaks quite a bit here in the United States, but every time we do a trip to northern Italy, including Milan and Torino and Magenta, which is Saint Gianna's whole town, we meet up with Dr. Emanuela, and she's so wonderful. And she always speaks about her Saint Mama, and again, gives us a talk. But what I find really troubling, and every time we meet, it doesn't seem to be getting any better. So I ask our listeners for prayers for this. Saint Gianna is so much more popular here in the United States than she is in her home area of northern Italy. And Gianna Emanuela has to go around and really keep up the message about her. They now do tours in the hometown of Magenta, which is amazing. We're doing that next year with our group in our September trip for 2027, a little bit more on that later. But there's such a beautiful tour that they give to her home, to the house, to the church where her and Pietro were married. You can even go to her office where she had her practice. They have a little office there, and everything is kept very pristinely. And so whatever a group comes, an American group comes, and it's normally mainly American groups, Dr. Gianna Emanuela is there. She makes herself available, and we've gotten to know her over the years, and she's just an amazing sister in the Lord. So I ask you to pray for her ministry and ask for the intercession of her Saint Mama, Saint Gianna. And the pronunciation, when we first started traveling there to see and to meet family, we also met her son, Gianna's son, and the rest of the family. And they corrected us because here in America, we say Gianna, but the Italian pronunciation is Gianna, Santa Gianna. So that's how it's pronounced. Just
I profiled her last hour, and I said Gianna. Wish we'd talked before.
I used to too. Yeah, same thing. I went to Italy and learned it. But she's a beautiful saint, especially for women. We're talking about this issue of women in the church. And my point to this reporter was, look, we are equal, but we are equal and dignified. Every man and woman is equal in the eyes of God, but we're different. And there's nothing wrong with equality not being sameness. And look at how much Saint Gianna accomplished in her short life, right?
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. And I think that's right on the money with the way, again, in our society, the way we try to make women into men and men into women. I mean, it's a weird place that we're at right now. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's good. I think these are opportunities for us. And again, you have to weigh it carefully. Whenever media opportunities come up, I try to weigh them. Okay, what kind of a story is this going to be? But thanks be to God, that's where my decades, since I've been doing this since dirt, is what to say.
And we're so glad you're out there doing it.
That helps
too.
A little bit.
Thank you, Teresa Tomeo.